In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to add buttons to your game. So for example, a start button, a retry button, etc. An example I'm going to show you is a after you lose because of the collision, and you go to your lose screen. Okay, you lost. This button here, which I've already done, will bring you back to the game. So just to show you how it quickly looks. So obviously it's not a first-person shooter, but yours will be. So I press P and I move the cube in. Okay, you're gonna get you lost, and the retry button shows up. If I click on retry, okay, I can play the game again and again. All right. So how to do all of that? Well, let's do a new document again. I got my cube. I'm going to deselect my cube, Shift A. I'm going to add a plane, S30, deselect it, select my cube, move it up. Don't forget to go to Blender Game. This stuff you all know how to do. Make sure it is in character. And I'll make sure I'm in local axis so I know which way I'm going. Divide this all up. Go to my logic editor, press N. And in this case, I'm just going to move my cube along the y-axis so it hits the monkey, which I don't have in yet, but I will. So I'm going to add my keyboard. Okay, I'm going to do the W key. All right, I'm going to add a motion, a character motion, and the location along the y-axis will say 0.1, and connect it. So if I test my game real quick, I'll press W, it moves forward. Beautiful. All right, so adding a monkey. So I'm just going to go to my side view here and move it along. And now pressing 5 will make it 2D. Rotate it a little bit to the side, scale a little bit bigger. All right, and so I'm going to do a material collision just to keep it simple. So I'll make it go red and call this one red bad. Okay, and so then now if we remember correctly, I have to go back to my cube. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger here so we can see. So I'm going to collapse that, and now adding my collision sensor. So collision, in this case it's going to be material, red bad. So in collision, I am going to set the scene. So scene, I'm going to set scene, and it's going to go to, oh, well, we don't have our second scene yet, so it doesn't really make much sense yet, does it? So let me quickly put that in and add a new scene. So I'll call it scene lost. Make sure this is in Blender Game. And so I will probably pause the video at some point and make this scene so you don't have to look at this. But anyway, so back to this one here. I'm going to go to scene lost when it collides. Okay. And if I test it, nothing's really going to happen because, well, there is no other scene. Well, the other scene, but it's blank. That's why you just saw gray. But everything is working great. All right, so I'm going to pause the video right now, go to my scene lost, and make my text and such, so you don't have to look at that. You can do that on your own at your own time. My scene lost, put the text in. So if I quickly go back to my scene and I press P and I collide, it now goes to that scene. So going back to scene lost, I am now going to add a button. So deselect everything. I'm just going to move my 3D cursor here. I'm just going to add, I don't know, a cube is fine. I'm going to scale along the x-axis to make it wider. I mean, how your button looks is totally up to you. All right. I might go to my side view. Let's see here. Yeah, so that view is fine. I'm just going to scale it along the z-axis too to make it thinner. So we don't need a thick button. It doesn't really matter since it's 2D in any case. It won't make a difference. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to go Shift A and add some more texts. So, oh, what's going on here? All right, so where did my text go? So I can edit it. So it should be selected, so just move it. There he is. Come over here. All right, so scale it to make it a bit bigger, tab into it, and I'll call it retry. And tab back out. Okay, now before I move it, I'll have to move it on top of the cube. I'm just going to add a material. I don't know. In this case, I'm going to make it, I'm just going to keep it white, actually. It's fine. White because I'm going to select the cube and make it some kind of green. So going back to my texts, remember to make it viewable, when I press P, you have to do Alt-C and change it. And now I'm going to have to move it so it is just above, oh, I did a pretty good job right there already, just above my cube. If I go back to my P, there it is. I mean, the Y is kind of off, which is not a good idea. So I'm just going to scale it a bit smaller. So maybe writing it in cap locks would have been a good idea. All right, so I have my text selected. I hold Shift, Command, and click my other ones. I have both selected. So you see text is here and cube is here. And now I'm going to go to Object, scroll up, and go to Join, or Control J. And that should make it 1. So now if I select it and move it, it is 1. All right, so now I'm going to tell the computer two things. When my mouse is over it, and when it's clicked, move back to the scene. So first I need two sensors. First one is a mouse, and when my left button is clicked, so that's already there, perfect. All right, of course, unless you want to choose a different button. Add another sensor, will be another mouse sensor, but this time, and it is when mouse is over. So when my mouse is over the box and my left is clicked, something is going to happen. So what we know what want to happen, we want to set the scene to back to our game. So if I add a controller, in this case, and usually you know how you just drag. Now what I can do, if I add one, so and I want this mouse, and if I click and drag here, this means both of these have to occur for this to occur, not an or, right? You could have or, but it doesn't make any sense for our case. In this case, we want an and. So both the mouse over, left click, and mouse over, it will work. So if I press P now, and see, I don't have, there it is. I press P, it's going to work. All right. Now, one little problem though, if I move forward, okay, you're not always going to have a mouse that shows up. So we want to make sure that this mouse always shows up. So you might be noticing with yours right now. Okay. Actually, for example, right now, my mouse isn't showing up. I have to move off the screen and back on for the mouse to show up. So how do you fix that? To fix it, you go to your scene, and with your cube, what we want to do is when it collides, we don't only want it to transfer, right, to our scene lost, we also want the mouse to show up. So we add an actuator called mouse, okay, so mouse becomes visible. All right, so now I'm going to add another one here. So when it collides, it's going to change the scene and make the mouse visible. So if I press P, this case, okay, there's the mouse. Notice how first there was no mouse in the game. If I press W to collide, look, my mouse showed up. So your job now is that once I press retry, okay, and I go back to my game, my mouse should disappear. Okay, so it's basically adding one of these into your cube. Once you've done all of that, upload it and then move on to your 20% time. Good luck.